Okay, we're live. Nobody's here but me and the cat and the bird. Let's see if anybody joins me. For now, I'm just going to sit here and wait for the cat and the bird and everybody else to start talking. Joanne's here. Good. Okay. I'm going to kill some time here because there's about a 30-second delay between when you type something and when I talk. And I'm trying not to do this the whole time and look down at the little thing going up. If you have trouble with sound, one thing I noticed, when we tested this, we figured out that you might have to refresh, you might have to shut her down and come back in, and you can do that. So if you have to refresh, do that. If I get all pixelated and I start talking funny, that could just be me, but it's probably something with your connection. So go back, and if you end up not being able to get in at all and you want to throw your computer at the wall, don't do that, because we all need our computers now at home. What you can do is just wait it out, and when this is all over, I'm going to save it. I can't remember what it is, but there's an option where I can say save this, and of course I will. So you can always watch it later. So just be patient, and this is my first time, and I have to keep looking at myself to talk to me. So I've done this in the mirror for 40 plus years, 48. And well, you know, those first years were just me saying how pretty, oh, pretty. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. My sister might tell you different. But anyway, it's gonna be weird for me. It's gonna be weird for you. Thank you for the comments on the hat. I appreciate that. So what I wanted to start out with, as we wait for more people to join, we have about 19 with us now. So I want to wait another 5 minutes to get going, because my first time ever trying to watch something like this, I struggled and it took me a bit to find it. So I have helpers out there watching to see if somebody says, I can't find it, to help you get over here. So we're trying to wait for those guys as well. So I thought I'd start with, well, first let me say my oldest sister, Laura. Her middle name's Lynn, and I named Violet Lynn, Ada Lynn. Everybody has a little bit of Laura in them, well, most characters. And she is wonderful. She helps me out a ton. What she does all the time, once a month I get a box, and in the box I get lots of different books. And she's an amazing Goodwill shopper. She's so fun. And the most recent one she sent me was this book. Now, this might be backwards, but it's Dear Asshole. So it's a funny group of letters that I can't remember. It's written by Julian Madison and Michelle Madison, and they publish these, and you can rip them out and leave them with people, which I wouldn't do. But I thought it'd be fun to start with one or two of these just while we're waiting for everybody else to get in here. So I'm going to read. This first one is from me. I have a pen thing. When I find a pen I love, you probably are like this too, don't touch that pen. You leave that pen. It's my favorite pen. Maybe it's writing all the time causing me to do this, but I'm sure you guys understand a nice smooth pen is gold. So this one is called Dear Asshole Who Stole My Pen. Please excuse my swearing. It will happen throughout this broadcast. So if you don't like swearing, you can call my mom and tell on me, okay? Deal. Dear Asshole Who Stole My Pen, you've crossed the line. Pen theft is a serious crime. Do you have any idea what I had to go through to get that thing? Pens don't grow on trees, you know. Sure, other pens may come along, but they don't have that smooth gliding roller ball or contoured comfort grip. Gone are the days of my colorful translucent plastic barrel basking in the fluorescent light. You've stripped that joy from me. Have you no soul? That was my pen. You hear me? Mine. F you. P.S. See you in hell. I like that one. That made me chuckle. Here is one. This one I thought was fun. This would be Cooper to Doc and Vi. Dear Asshole Joined at the Hip Couple. Stop staring at each other's eyes for 5 seconds and take a look at how annoying you are. You finish each other's sentences, laugh at each other's lame jokes, and are all over each other like some sort of sick, twisted, romantically involved conjoined twins. Live on the edge. Eat a meal alone. Go shopping by yourself. At the very least, crawl out of each other's asses long enough to go to the bathroom alone. I promise you will not break up as a result. Get a life. P.S. Seek psychological help. I could really hear Cooper telling Doc that, since they drive him nuts all the time. And I was going to do one more. Let me find it here. This one was kind of fun. We all know people like this. Dear asshole who won't stop for directions. We're up to 35 people now, so we're almost there. So let's keep going just a little longer, then I'll start. Anyway, dear asshole who won't stop for directions. Just admit it, we're lost. We've been driving around in circles for so long that I'm starting to feel dizzy. I now know these streets better than my own neighborhood, and we've cruised by that bank so many times, the employees probably think we're planning a robbery. I actually have a life outside of this vehicle, so stop being such a stubborn asshole and pull into a gas station for directions. And while you're at it, buy me a soda. All that gasping and fearing for my life while driving through that last ghetto made my mouth a bit dry. Yours. P.S. I could have crawled there faster than this. So that's few little fun things to get us warmed up. I appreciate all you guys who started early, hanging on here with us, because we need to wait for everybody that can come to find us and all that good stuff. And thought I'd do a little bit of warm-ups there. I'm sure there's a ton of other letters there that I can't wait to read. I don't know if we want to read them together, maybe, but it's a really fun book if you want something to chuckle at every now and then. And I thank my sister for sending that to me. Another book my sister sent me, as we were waiting a couple more minutes, I wanted to wait till about 10 after, so we got about 4 more minutes. A lot of you guys ask where I get some of the sayings I have in there, especially from like Old Man Harvey and several others. Well, another one that my sister Laura sent me a long time ago was Bubba Speak, Texas Folk Sayings. It's one of my favorite books. I'm actually losing pages out of it, as you can see, which really worries me because I love this book and I use it so much. It has so many fun sayings. For example, let's talk about dislike. The word dislike, it has this really cool saying. So, she hates me like a hog hates cholera. She thinks I'm lower than a cockroach's belly. She hates me worse than the devil hates holy water. She wouldn't pour water on me if I was on fire. I think I might have used that one. I like her about as well as I like my mother-in-law. Now, I love my mother-in-law, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. So we shouldn't badmouth our mother-in-laws. However, that's kind of funny. I like that one. I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait to be someone's mother-in-law someday. Oh, the things I can do to embarrass both my child and their spouse is going to be amazing. Oh, we're going to have so much fun. Okay, so let's see. We're up to about, oh, we're close enough. Let's do one more word and then we'll get started. Let me find a short one that's not too negative. Courting, the word courting. He's trying to tie her to the snorting post. He's a suffering from Cupid's cramps. She gets called on as regular as a goose goes barefooted. And he's fixing to get lady broke. I like that last one a lot. I think I could use that for Harvey. Okay, that's good. Let's get started. We've got 40 people here so far, so that's, wow, 4 times as many as I was hoping would show, not including my family, because, you know, I kind of wanted them to just sit here and talk to me. Welcome to Ann Charles Facebook Live. We're going to start today talking about Nearly Departed in Deadwood and optical delusions in Deadwood. Now, I have, I'm going to hold up my phone periodically because people, oh, I'm told I'm talking too fast. I will slow down now. We can go into slow-mo. I will slow down and try to talk slower, and I'm going to be looking at this periodically because instead of looking at my computer to read your comments, which slows me down and makes me get all flustered and confused, I'm going to just do it from here and read the questions that a couple people are collecting and sending to me from you guys, so we can go through that way. So let's start with the first book, and you know, if I had myself really together, I would at this point hold up Nearly Departed and say, Nearly Departed in Deadwood. But that is not the things I brought to the desk today to talk to you guys with. I brought water, I brought my books to talk about, I brought a Kleenex, and I brought, just for later on, you know, just a little help in case I start getting squeaky jawed and I can't talk as well. We'll lube up the pipes a little bit, and ooh, that's not a good way to say that. Oh, you know, any way I go with that lube thing, I'm not sure it's gonna work. So let's just not talk about lubing right now, and let's go back to Nearly Departed in Deadwood. So 600 and, oh, I'm not gonna look. It's like 680 of you guys have taken the Nearly Departed in Deadwood quiz, which is awesome. I can't believe how many people did this. When Diane and I first discussed it, Diane Garland, she is my world keeper. She's the one who helps, goes and gets the questions for you guys to challenge you. She helps me keep track of all the threads and the details throughout in all these books, which is a massive undertaking, let me tell you. So she comes up with some questions, and then I go through and I look at the questions, see if I can answer them myself. And then I add feedback for if you miss it, and I add feedback for if you don't miss it, if you get it right. And I try to change it up for each one. So, you know, I don't care if you take the test 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. If you want to go back and purposely miss the question so that you can see the other answers, that's fine too. We can do that. So I wanted to start with that quiz, and I hope some of you took it, if not all of you, just because it's such a fun quiz. It ended up being way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be, and I was going to start with that, and then I'm going to go take a question, then we'll go back and forth. And in all honest truth, if this runs like one of my regular workshops, we're going to be all over the freaking place, and I might have to stop and go, what was the question? Because I tend to go off merrily on tangents, and who knows where this is going to end up. I think we'll run as long as we run. When it starts getting boring and everybody's like, I'm out, then I'll say goodbye, see you later, and all that good stuff. Oh, Mr. Lucky brought me a book, Nearly Departed in Deadwood. Here it is. Oh, wait, there you go. Sorry, we put sheets over the windows in here. The sunshine's going to be part of today's show. It insisted. I'm not going to tell it no, because I like the sunshine. So we're going to leave that coming too. So, okay, I was going to start with talking about one of the questions on quiz 1. First of all, I wanted to tell you, okay, look at this really cool graph. I love it. What nickname does Ray call Violet? That's the first one. Look at all that blue. Most of us knew. Woohoo! Most of us knew the answer was Blondie. And for those that chose other things, you know, they were good. They were hard, because Curly was one that Quint, Violet's brother, you'll learn that in a future book, her brother calls her Curly Bill, right? Outlaw Curly Bill. Girly is, I think, Harvey. He usually calls her Girly. Hey, Girly. And Wench, well, you know, Ray probably has called her that. He's called her several bad names. Wench is the nicest of them. He's really gone off on her, something fierce. And, you know, we all have had Rays in our life, unfortunately. Me too. Not real nice guy, kind of full of himself. No offense, men. No offense, guys listening. There's women like this too. A real jerk, pushes it constantly, whispers little things when he thinks nobody's looking or hearing. And that's kind of who Ray's based off. I don't have a person in particular I chose for Ray. I kind of just went, let's take all these assholes that I've met and dealt with in my working life and put them into one character, and we'll call him Ray. No offense to all the Rays out there. I like that name. It's not a bad name. But I did choose Ray. So that's where Ray came from, and he's still here. He's, you know, as the series goes, some characters shine for a book, other characters shine in another book. I think most of you have noticed that. Sometimes we talk a lot about Aunt Zoe. Sometimes we talk a lot about, I don't know, Cooper. He's kind of pushy that way. So that's really kind of how the series is going to go. In life, we don't have one constant person besides our spouse and our children when we're isolated together for 30 days, maybe 100, oh my gosh. But otherwise, we have people that come and go and star for a little bit on our show, you know, our drama show, and then they take a leave and someone else pops up. And that's kind of how I'm working this here with Nearly Departed in all of these books. Different people have different books they shine in. But let's go to one of the questions that I am getting in from the wire. This makes me laugh right out of the gate. You are so young. How do you know so many old songs? And thank you, Joanne. I am not so young. See, look at all the lines. I get lots of lines. Yeah. So I'm not so young. I just had to spend 20 years of my life in a dark cubicle in Seattle, where the rain was constant mostly, except for August when it's beautiful, and September. So that kept me inside a lot more than I normally would have been. And I think that almost pickled me for a while. So I'm not really that young and the hair's dyed. Come on, it's lots of silver and gray. I'm not even gonna deny that for a minute. But I used to be blonde when I was a kid, so that's why there's blonde hair now. It's easier to keep looking blonde as I get older than it is to stay a brunette. Anyway, old songs. So born in the early 70s, raised with two wonderful father figures that loved country music. Sisters, my oldest sister is 8 years older than me, so I listened to all her old music, old music, because she was so much older than me. That was the cool thing to do, so I could hang out with them. I actually sat on her Rick Springfield 45 and broke it, and she was so mad. Jesse's Girl, you know what it's called? Oh gosh, she was so mad at me for sitting on her record and breaking it. So anyway, there are many other tales I could tell you that I have done to my siblings, especially my sisters over the years. They don't know those, so I can't really tell you those on Facebook Live, because if they find out, there could be anger issues, and my wonderful older sister Laura will stop sending me books, and she will probably stop doing my bookkeeping too. And I just can't have that, because that's a horrible thing, and she's so wonderful to help me. So let's get off of that. But that's how I learned. I have so many old songs in my head. I was raised, back then we didn't have YouTube, Facebook, all this great stuff. We listened to AM radio, and AM radio was country heavy, as well as old classic rock and roll and all that good stuff. So I really grew up listening to a variety of music from all over the place, and just had a heck of a time with the country. I love the old country with all that good stuff. So that's my answer to that question. So yes, Deb, Ray is an ass, but I guess someone has to be. That is true, Deb Gray. Someone's got to be the asshole. No offense to my ex-husband, but when I was divorcing, that's something my brother, C.S. Kunkel, who does my art, I was feeling really bad about the divorce and what was going on. And one of my favorite things someone has said to me was, Chuck said, you know what? Someone's got to be the asshole. And today it's got to be you. So just suck it up, be the asshole, and get divorced. Again, no offense to my ex, I didn't mean that as negative to him, but someone had to push the thing and get us out of that situation, and it was me. So I agree. Ray has to be an asshole, and sometimes I have to be. But I don't want to be that anymore. Unless somebody's really mean to my kids or something, then of course, everybody then becomes the asshole. Let's go to another question. I think I'm digressing a little bit into that. We don't want to open that door. Here's another one. Was Wolfgang lighting his loafers like Harvey said? Gail Mathers. I don't think so. I think Wolfgang, I think he was just nuts. He had an evil sister who was just constantly in his ear. I think this kind of reminds me of my kids right now, 13 and 15. The 15-year-old has this 13-year-old sister constantly in his ear telling him everything he's doing wrong. And that makes him bark a lot. Stop, shut up, don't want to hear it. Don't want you complaining about me some more. Tell me how to brush my teeth. That's kind of Wolfgang. I mean, he had a little evil sister who's in his ear constantly bickering and complaining and picking at him, the poor guy. So I think it just made him nuts. More than lighting his loafers or not, I don't think really, sex was probably just something he did in the off time when he wasn't kooky. Wasn't an important thing. But that is a question I don't think anyone's ever asked me. So that's a good question, Gail. Let me see if there's any other questions. Let me see. I'm looking for my questions, and if not, one's coming in. But until then, I'm going to go to the next one here. That I wanted to talk about. Let me flip. Here's one that I get often. Not often, but periodically, just as a way of people going, what color does the Purple Door Saloon have? And most of you got it right on this test. Almost 60% guessed. No, actually, most of you got it wrong. Sorry. 60% of you said purple. Would you think if you have a business called the Purple Door Saloon, you would paint your door purple? But no, the actual answer is red. And why did I choose to make the door red? You know, I don't really have an answer. Maybe it was more because I think a lot of times as a writer, you try to do what people aren't expecting you to do. So if somebody says, let's make it this color, or the plot should go this way, you go, no, I think it needs to go that way. So I think that's what part of the reasoning behind the door color was. So that was my fun question there on the quiz. Let me see here. Oh, hi to, I'm supposed to say hi, Doris. Hi, Doris. Thank you for reading. That's Jan's mom. And Doris is a wonderful lady. She writes me letters. Right now, I think Jan will confirm that she's over 80, so she's really stuck at home right now. And she's one of my most faithful readers, and I love it when she writes me little letters. Okay, so that, I said hi. Let's go back to this. Let's talk about, oh, no, I wanted to pull out, there were some other questions. Back in 2015, we compiled a list of book club questions. 2015. It is 2020. 5 years later, let's look at what a couple of these are for the book club. Yeah, I'm a little behind. This is a question for you guys. What were some of your favorite quotes used throughout the book? Now, you know, you don't have to get it spot on, but if you can just kind of remember, that's cool too. If you can't, that's fine. Some of my favorite quotes are the ones that Harvey says, of course. I love it when Harvey's on scene. And on a little side note, for those of you who don't know this story, Harvey, when I planned this whole Nearly Departed Deadwood book, first of all, it was not going to be a series. It was going to be a single title. So it was just going to be a single book. It was going to be mostly mystery about these girls. A little paranormal because Deadwood has paranormal in it, but not to the extent of what we have now. So I plotted this whole thing. I did character interviews, and I've published those in different, I think, Deadwood shorts. But I did all this stuff, and I built this story behind the scenes like writers are supposed to do, all this pre-work. And I sat there, and I was at the computer thinking up the first line, and all of a sudden that first line popped in my head. That is, first time I came to Deadwood, I got shot in the ass. That popped in my head, and I wrote that down because I loved it. And I thought, who's holding, you know, the double barrel shotguns on her? Who's holding that shotgun? Out of the blue comes Harvey, Old Man Harvey. No pre-thought there, whatever, no planning, nothing. He walked on screen holding the shotgun, and just it started from there. And to this day, he is one of the most popular characters in the series. Among and the other series, he's well loved. I think partly because he is such a fan of Violet, and he wants to protect her, and he keeps her down to earth. He keeps her humble. So I think that plays a part. But Old Man Harvey was a surprise to me, and I love him dearly. So a lot of times his quotes when he's with Violet, those are some of my favorite lines, because with Old Man Harvey, I can say pretty much anything that you want to say. You can just let it fly, and Violet has to just react to it. So it's so much fun. So much fun. Okay, we got a couple questions. Let's read. Did the incident, oh, we're moving into that. That's for book 2. But I'm gonna come back to that one. I gotta remember that. How do you write such tasteful love scenes without them being too porny or too Harlequin? Oh, I've not had that question before. Carrie, thank you, Carrie. Well, you know, as I said, this started out being a mystery when I wrote the first version that I submitted to an agent. Well, not an agent. I had an agent. I submitted to Mira in New York, a New York publisher, which is an Avon publisher. It was going to be a mystery mainly, with just a small bit of love scene, or you know, a small romance within it, because I kind of like, I always like romance. I'm you know, I love romance. End of story. Anyway, I'm gonna stop saying now too. Try to. So I wrote this single title mystery with a hint of romance, and it ended with a kiss. That was the end, and I sent it in to this publishing house, this New York publishing house, and they loved it, but they said, we want you to up the romance level. We want you to go up higher. Instead of like 30% romance, we want it more like 50-50 with mystery. So I had to go back through the whole story and every scene with Vi and Doc, and I had to crank it up a little, turn the heat up a little, turn the heat up a little more, till I got to the end. And as many of you know, if you've ever read a romance, not all romances, there's, you know, light romances that don't have any sex on the page, but the mediocre romances now have some sex on the page. Now, the full-on, this is nothing, and I repeat, nothing compared to full-on normal romance or even close to erotica. Because when you read those books, which I do and have, those things, wow, my cheeks are red. So I'm not even close to that. I try to keep it, like you said, I try to keep it tasteful. I try to give you enough so that you know, your brain knows what's going on. You can picture the scene without me having to be explicit. Now, sometimes some books are a little hotter. Sometimes some books are not as hot. I mix it up, you know, depending on what's going on with the story. But there are love scenes, and I do have them. So anyway, let me go back to, I've added the love scene into book 1, submitted it again. They loved it. Then it went up through the pipes, but as many of you know, I got rejected at the final meeting by marketing because they didn't think we'd have enough readers, being it's a Midwest kind of story. Anyway, I pushed it up through, and while that was going through, the process takes like 6 months to go up through the, you know, the levels. I had to sit down and write book 2 because they said, we love this book and we want book 2 in the series. And I was like, there's a 2 in the series? Okay. So I wrote book 2. And in book 2, because they'd already done the deed in book 1, I had to, you know, continue the love story. So book 2 was finished by the time I got the news that they rejected it. Then I had 2 books, and there's no way I can go back and take it back out because that's stripping so much of the story. So I decided, okay, this is the Ann Charles brand. From now on, the books will have probably at least 1 love scene on the page, and that's how we go forward. Now, I try to do it so keeping in mind that not all of you love to read detailed sex scenes. So I try to pull back a little bit and keep it a little lighter or more tasteful. I like that word. My mom calls them spicy, nice and spicy. But that's, you know, that's how it comes out now. And once you, in the reader world, writing world and reader, once you put some books out and you get a set reputation, if you go off brand a little bit, let's say I wrote a, I don't know, what's something totally, a sci-fi book. It's going to get really hard for readers because readers learn to expect a certain thing from Ann Charles. And so when they read my books, they kind of think, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to get. And if I don't deliver some of that, then a lot of times they're that guarantee they came into it with, they're kind of a little ticked. So some writers, you know, I write in various genres, but they all have a little romance and a little mystery, a little suspense and action. If I go too far off that, I'm going to lose readers. Now, I might gain some new ones, but I'm going to lose a lot. Now, one time, and then I'll move on to the next question, I promise. One time Amazon went and screwed up and they put several, I can't remember which books, but they put me in erotica, the categories they have. So when you went to find my book, I was erotica, and I was with some heavy duty erotica. Whew. And I wrote them and I said, you know, I appreciate you trying to help me find new readers, but I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to get mad when they read how little bit of sex, what little bit of sex I have in those books. They're going to get pissed. So you better take me off that category and put me back where I was originally. Stop messing around back there. So they did. Luckily, I didn't get any bad reviews because I'm sure I would have had not enough sex, darn it, on my reviews. Not sure how that have worked out. Okay, let's go on to another question. I hope I answered that enough for you, Carrie. Woohoo! I'm gonna move on here quick. Is Bogart the kitten that Addie called Checkers? Michelle Davis. Yes, Michelle, you have found one of my little Easter eggs. Initially, it was Checkers, but then Addie wanted to keep her mom happy and not make her get rid of Checkers. So she changed Checkers' name to Bogart because Violet is a huge Humphrey Bogart fan. So that's kind of what happened. With Checkers. It's the same cat, the same vegetarian cat that later on causes a lot of problems. Who do you picture? Tamia, you asked me about Rabbit. I'll have to answer you that on the side because I'm not talking about, today I'm only talking about Nearly Departed and Optical Delusions, because if we start going into all the other books, we'll be here for a day, and really we shouldn't spend that much time with me. How do you come up with the ghost in your story? This is from Richard Frill. Thank you, Richard. The ghost in, that's kind of in, the ghost really comes on strong in Optical Delusions, as in Prudence, in other words. I think I had Wilda. I guess I had Wilda. Yeah, duh. Wilda was in that book, in Nearly Departed. Wilda, that was the whole Wolfgang Wilda. What was driving Wolfgang crazy spurred me to do Wilda. And I had actually toured the Adams house many times in Deadwood. For those of you who have ever toured the Adams house in Deadwood, that is, inside it is Wolfgang's house to some degree. Not exact, but close, because I just love that old house, and I thought it would be fun to incorporate that. So when you have a nice old house like that, it's always fun to add a ghost or two. And that was how Wilda came to be. And Wilda, I didn't really expect to, like Harvey, become as big of a deal as she did. She's actually kind of a bigger star than Wolfgang, I think. Wolfgang just started it, but Wilda is the true troublemaker. So that's how that all came together. I have not experienced a lot of ghost things. I've been a lot of haunted places. Like Violet, I tend to think I'm a dud. Now, I have had a few small things, and people will tend to say, well, that means, that ghost was touching you or this. I guess I want you to, kind of feel, most of us feel like we're deads. And I wanted, through Violet, us to feel what it was like to go in where everybody else keeps seeing things and experiencing things. And then, you're just sitting there going, there's nothing. Because, I know what I was going to say. I do and I don't. I kind of want to really see it myself, see the wispy thing, the whole thing. But then I think if I do, then I might start writing children's books because I've scared myself too much. And I write really late at night, in the dark, and I'll see stuff, in the corner of my eyes and think, what if I look over and there's somebody dead standing there? Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And a lot of times the cats will mess with me late at night. They'll come knocking stuff over behind me and make me gah, and I think they have fun with the fact that I'm writing the scary stuff. So I don't think the cats want me to write children's books yet either. But anyway, see, there's another tangent. I'm going off with those cats. I'd like to see a ghost, but then I wouldn't. I think it's fun to imagine. Let's move on to the next thing. Thank you, Richard, for that. How did you come up with the idea for the clown? Thank you, Joanne. The clown. Wow, the clown cookie jar, all the clown stuff. We were in Wolfgang's house when I was writing that first scene where Violet walks through Wolfgang's house and just kind of, checking it out. And I was in the Adams house. And I thought, what would really creep me out if I went into a house? I've been in houses where they're stuck in the 60s, stuck in the 50s, and that's kind of cool. A little different, but kind of cool. But I thought, what would I do if I walked in a house filled with clowns? I don't think then, but since then, there was pictures that went around the Facebook and the internet of this house, a real house, that had clown everything. And it was just what I had pictured way back when I wrote this book in 2008, I think it was, or 2009. So it was the perfect clown house for Wolfgang. And to see it in someone's real house was just surreal. Can you imagine if you're walking to a house filled with all this smiling clown stuff? Oh my gosh, that would freak me out. I'd be out the door. That's just, so the clown, it wasn't because so many people are afraid of clowns. that is really not a good thing that when you're working with trying to sell books that have a clown related theme. People don't even want to touch them. I learned that with the Freak Show books. But, you know, the clown thing just fit for me, the whole what would scare Violet like crazy. And that's being stuck in a clown house like that. So that's kind of how the clown came about. And Heather, I do not have a fear of clowns. I did once at a haunted house years ago, probably 20 years ago, have a clown guy, a guy dressed as a clown. He chased me out of the haunted house with one of those, well, I think it was fake chainsaws, and chased me. It was the end of the haunted house. We come to, and he starts running at us, chasing, and I took off back when I could run faster. And he chased me probably a block, half a block, clear way into the parking lot. And I finally stopped, and I turned around and I was like, okay, that's enough. We've scared me enough. Get the heck back there, because I'm done with the clown chasing me with a chainsaw. Good. We had that in my life now. So that was the closest I came to being afraid of a clown. Really, clowns don't bug me. Scary clowns, I love it. I read that long ago. I like the movies they've put out. Clowns don't bug me. There are other things that bug me. You know what bugs me, Heather. I've told you guys, and that is cows make me nervous. I think there's more behind those big brown eyes than we all think. Lots going on in there. So cows and zombies, man, I can't handle zombies. That's just, I'll watch stuff. I do. I see it all the time, but the real, oh man, that's my worst nightmares is zombies and cows. So zombie cows walking in my yard, just brains. They'd probably want not to eat my brains because they're not meat eaters, but I don't care. In my little scary world, zombie cows. Let's move on beyond. We've regressed to zombie cows now. Let's see. So the next question. How did you come up with Doc smelling ghosts? From Gail Mathers. So let's see. That was a product of my husband, Sam Lucky, and my brainstorming together in our backyard way back when. We'd come back from Deadwood, and we were talking about the story and the ideas that we had come up, well, we'd come with traveling, and that Violet, and she's this and this. So we were trying to think of something different for Doc, because then there were so many books where you could see ghosts. I see dead people. You could see them, you could hear them, you could do all things. But one thing I hadn't, and he hadn't really seen, was somebody that could smell them. So, and not really the olfactory, like you smell like garlic, you must have been a vampire in your past life. Not that, no. More like, I smell, what did your grandma used to wear for perfume? I can't think of my grandma. I can think of the way she smelled, and it wasn't rose water. But everybody comes with a kind of smell, not necessarily good, not necessarily bad, but we have fragrances we like, things that will spark you to remember a great aunt or something. So it was more, there's a mental thing there that is mixed with the olfactory. So we tried to come up with that, and at first, it was like, well, people are gonna, how's this gonna fly? Is this gonna work? But we stuck to it. In the early days, a couple people really made fun of that idea. This is stupid. How can you smell a ghost? Whatever. Dogs can smell stuff from a mile away. Whatever. So we just kind of went with, let's take this idea of he can pick up ghosts by sense, and there's something more there, but he can pick them up that way. And like a bloodhound, it kind of went forth. And today, that's how we still go forth. So that was the deal behind that. Let's see, what's another one here? Did Nancy Drew pull you a little? From Richard. Thank you for another question, Richard. I'm going to be honest about something here. I don't think I've read a Nancy Drew. I think I watched, remember Parker Stevenson and somebody else? They were the Hardy Boys when I was a kid. And didn't they have Nancy Drew something at that time, maybe a TV show? So the idea, yeah, just like Agatha Christie and all those. But did she actually have an effect on me? probably, I mean, I think she and Nancy Drew and those stories influence everything so much. Just like you can't say, you know, one thing way back when Lord of the Rings hasn't had an effect on a lot of fantasy books and those kind of books. So yes, in some ways, yes. But again, I haven't fully read those. I've read a lot of other things, but not Nancy Drew. What famous person does Doc look like from Tara Snyder? Well, in my mind, when I write him, it's going to be one thing that's different than you. But when I write him, he's a bit of Gregory Peck. I can't say it. Gregory Peck. Big Country. I love Big Country, the Western. And he in that is one of my favorite characters. And there's several others, you know, To Kill a Mockingbird, he was more fatherly in that one. But I love how level-headed he is. And I don't know, I think he's really a good-looking guy too. So dark-haired and got his crap together stuff, you know, he's not all flustery and stuff. And to me, that's Doc. Doc keeps it together. Very rarely does he get fully mad. And really, he doesn't cuss a lot on the page. He'll curse, which will surprise Violet, and he does curse, but he's not. That's showing how his temperature is level. I'm really rocking in my chair here. I hope you guys don't mind that. Uneven floor a little bit with these tiles. Doris asks, that's Jan Lawrence's mother, how I get all of my ideas. Well, I watched a lot of TV growing up. I've read a lot of books. Okay, there were a lot of romance books in there in my teen years, but I also read a lot of Louis L'Amour. I've read a lot of Stephen King. Oh, Stephen King, Louis L'Amour, and then Harlequin were really what I was raised on, Harlequin books. So a mix of all that added into, I've always enjoyed listening to people's stories. When you sit down next to somebody in let's say the airport or the doctor's office and you start talking to them and you quickly realize that every single one of us has a whole bunch of episodes, television episodes that make up our life. And if you can take some time and really tap into somebody's drama shows or their funny encounters in life or just learning about some of the things they came across in their jobs, it's really incredible what each of us have to tell. And so one of my favorite things has always been picking someone's brain. And, joked over the years that family has joked that you can get people to talk to you, just open up and talk to you. A lot of that's just listening. Let me ask you a few questions. After about 5 questions, and if you keep brushing me off, I get the point and I go, okay, never mind. But otherwise, if you start opening up, I just find it like I'm reading a book. Each person is a book, and I like to read and see what's going on. So that's let Doris know. Thank you for the question. And a lot of my ideas come from just people. I've met, I've known, and I still know some incredible people. And I have people in my life that I love to talk to just to find out what kind of crazy crap is going on. Because sometimes all I do is write, and it gets a little boring when I have to write every day, day after day. So now my kids do bring drama, and my husband's wonderful in keeping me entertained. But sometimes it's fun to tune in the station to someone else's life and learn the crazy crap that's going on and go, you're kidding me. Oh my gosh, that's nuts. That's nuts. So a lot of ideas come from just listening and hearing, what people have gone through. Another question. How did you come up with the purple boots for Violet from Tamara Hogan? That is a great question. So in that very first chapter, Violet's talking to Harvey, and I wanted her to have cowboy boots, Deadwood, a little bit of cowboy out there, Western. So I put her in boots, and then when Harvey looked down and saw her boots in my mind's eye, well, they were purple to match her name, Violet. So, of course, purple boots. And a favorite color, as many of you know, is purple. So if I could have any kind of cowboy boots that I wanted, they would be purple cowboy boots. I absolutely love them. So that was kind of the basis for giving her purple boots. They matched her name. And that would be reasonable that someone would buy her purple boots because of her name being Violet. So it all came together. let me go out for a second and look, and I'm getting a couple others from people. I answered, do you believe in ghosts from Gail? Yes, but I haven't seen any. Let's see. I've answered those. Sorry, I'm looking through a couple others. April Parrish. Hello, April. When did you realize your cozy mystery wasn't quite as cozy as first plan? And I kind of talked about that. It was back when I submitted and they made me go in and add, kind of intensify everything and add a sex scene. I knew then I wasn't going to be writing cozy mysteries. I knew it was gonna change. And you know, at first I was like, oh no, what's this gonna do? But in reality, it was one of the best things that happened because it allowed me to have the freedom to create what I wanted to create. There are a lot of boundaries in cozies, and I know a lot of you guys like cozies, and that's cool. But with cozies, and it's not just, oh, you can't swear and you can't have sex on the page. Cozies they're called cozy for a reason. They're comforting, they're mysteries, they're Agatha Christie, a little bit of risk, a little bit of danger, and then we go back. By not being labeled cozy, I have a lot more freedom to go forth really crazy on the paranormal, on the language, on the sex if I want. I always joke, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know, that's kind of the feel more, not that there's sex, drugs, and rock and roll in all of them, but it allows me not to be put inside the cozy box. And cozy is a wonderful box to be in if it's what you enjoy writing, because there are a lot of readers that love cozies. But if you struggle to follow, you know, stay within the lines, then you might have trouble sticking with cozy, and your readers are going to be a little angry at you because you're going a little too much language and a little much too risque and all that good stuff. So that's really, it was kind of organically, I don't like that word, but organically it changed as I didn't get where I wanted to get with, you know, the right publisher and how things worked out as they did. Let's look at another question. Do I have a Natalie in my life? Thank you, Melissa Phillips. You know, I have a lot of Natalies. I have sisters that are like Natalie. I have several really good writer buddies that are like Natalie. You guys know I talk about Jackie Rogers a lot. Jackie and I have been together for about 23 years now, writing to, you know, partners, brainstorming, critique partners. She's one that, you know, I can always count on, no matter time of day. If she's connected somehow, she'll answer me, she'll talk to me, she'll talk me off a ledge, she'll laugh with me at something, she'll let me swear at her all I want. She's been like that with me for a long, long time. There another female sisters, like I said, my sisters-in-laws as well. I have a really good relationship with them. So Natalie is kind of a combination of a lot of people in my life. She's the one that's always there for you as a girlfriend, and you can count on her always. And I hope you all have wonderful people like that in your life too, because I think life is a lot richer because of the Natalies and the Harveys that we have, and we can laugh and love. Let's see. Do you visually picture what Violet and the gang are doing before writing it on paper? By Heather. Yes, I have this whole thing I do, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I think it will make you go to sleep. But what I do is I plot out some ideas, and then I kind of do a high-level goal, motivation, conflict for the scene, or what's the reaction to this going to be in this sequel. And I kind of high-level it, and then I like to spend some time daydreaming and kind of think through, well, how will this go? And sometimes I can picture it, detail, 3D, it's amazing. And other times it's really foggy, and I have to write my way through it and see what pops up. So I often have an idea how this is going to go. The action scenes, the really big action scenes, like a big fight scene, like Violet in nearly taking on Wolfgang. That one I sat for about an hour or two listening to the same song that was really sparking me over and over, and then I just kind of, okay, this is how it's going to go. And we put it all down, and I saw the scene, and I pictured it all, and then it poured out when I wrote it. So it's really a mix of how it's going to go. Sometimes I love the idea of just, let's see what comes out when I type, you know, and other times I really need to have something there so I can figure out what to do. Okay, another one from the beginning. This is from Becca Lynn. Hey, Becca. From the beginning, did you know what Coop's first name would be? Sorry. Or did it evolve from your readers who it drives nuts not knowing? Cooper is such an interesting character and how he came to be. Just that, you know, he was there at the end of Deadwood 1, and he really started to shine in Deadwood 2 when him and Violet started butting heads. Detective Cooper was who he was for the longest time until I started getting all these questions about what's his first name. And then I saw his first name on a billboard coming home from Phoenix long time ago. There it was. It was the actual name, and I just thought that is so perfect. No wonder he doesn't want us to know. So it kind of evolved, and for the longest time I just said Cooper won't tell me what his first name is, and then I learned it, and then I said, oh, Cooper, now I know why you don't want us to know it, so let's just keep it under wraps for now. And you know, maybe someday Natalie will let it loose on what it is, but until then, we're not going to figure it out. Who knows? You can guess. You can throw a bunch of names at me. And we have fun with that every year at the fan party in Deadwood, because I'm usually asked that question, and it makes me laugh every time. So, okay, how far out do you plot your book? From Joanne. Well, I usually, from the start, I figure out, I like to know the title. Titles are good. It helps me really form an idea. The theme and all that kind of stuff, I figure out. The main goals, motivations, and conflicts within this story, what the whole story goal, motivation, conflict is going to be, and the story question is going to be. And then I'll try to do a high level where I plot out the first turning point, the midpoint, the second turning point, the climax, all that good stuff. And I'll write this stuff down, these details, but not a lot, because I've learned that all I'm going to do is look at that, and then by chapter 2, I'll be on a totally different track than I even thought, and I can just wad that crap up I wrote, toss it out, because it's of no use anymore. So I plot them out, and then I got enough to know that I can tell the story, and that there, you know, I have, you know, what's going to happen, and then I pull back and let it just flow naturally, whatever comes out. So it's a real mix. I mean, there is structure there, and I really have a theme that I follow per book. And the story question is there. I try to have in almost every scene. So it's all in there. It's just I try to let it free flow some too. Let's see, another question. Do you actually live in the area, or is it just from visits from Gail Mathers? My mom lives up in Deadwood Lead area. She has been there for about maybe 30 years now, 30 plus years, 35 years maybe. So I've spent a lot of time there. I've been there a lot for summers, for holidays, big chunks of time. I actually now live in Arizona, as you guys know. We were thinking about moving to Deadwood years and years ago when we left Seattle, but that was the year they got 4 foot of snow in October. And we said, yeah, don't love the snow that much. So we moved to northern Arizona, where we still get some snow, but we also get a lot less, a lot more sun. But I do love the Black Hills. It's one of my favorite places to go. Where did you get the idea for Harvey's character? From Kathy. I said this a little earlier, Kathy, and I'll repeat it real quick, that he just came on scene when he was holding a shotgun on Violet at the very beginning. He wasn't planned. I think he's a combination of some wonderful older guys I've known who are funny, play horseshoes with, and I've done all kinds of stuff, you know, hanging out with. So it's just a big mix of all these guys I've known over time, these older guys that are wonderful, and they don't always have a filter, and they just kind of let it fly, and it's fun that way. So that is kind of where Harvey all started up and came from and got rolling. All right, let me see. Oh, the purple boots. Yes, an old ex-coworker of mine, an old coworker of mine, Sandy. Love the coworkers at HFS that bought you the first purple boots. Yes, I do have her purple boots, and they were bought a long time ago. Sorry, everybody, but it was a long time ago. And it was by a mixture of my family and my coworkers and my friends. They all pitched in. I had this picture for the longest time after I'd written the first book of these purple boots from Old Gringo hanging on my cubicle wall at work. And my friend Amber At the time, she knew I loved them. I'd showed her a picture, you know, I'd sent her the link to them, and they were not cheap. They were expensive, and I had 2 little babies. There was no way we could afford to waste $400+ on boots. So it was just a pipe dream and something I kept up there as motivation as I wrote the next book and the one after that. And all these folks, these wonderful people, went together for my first book signing that I had, and they purchased these boots for me and had them there, gave them to me at my first book signing, which was so cool. It was the coolest thing. And so that is where I got my purple boots, from my wonderful family, friends, co-authors, all sorts of great people that helped me to have that dream come true. And I still take care of those boots. Are gold. I should insure them with, what is it, Lords of London? Yeah, right. But I do take very good care of them, because you cannot find, they stopped, they discontinued those particular kinds at Old Gringo. And so I even called once and had them check all their warehouses because I wanted a backup pair, and they are like, nope, they're all gone. So yeah, I take care of those babies. Okay, Jan Lawrence, you must like clocks. I can see 2 swinging behind you. Is that why you use them in your books? Yes, my husband, Mr. Lucky, and I do have fun finding clocks. We try to be very careful so we don't hoard, but we try to find interesting clocks that are fun. And the cats in particular like this clock because the fishbone, and they want to whack at it. So yeah, we have fun with clocks. But we don't just go by willy-nilly. Sometimes it has to be at a special place. You know, it's one of those tourist things a lot of times we do now, is we look for the special clock that really strikes us, and we have to both like them. So I like clocks, and that, I don't, you know, the whole clock thing is, we can talk about that more when we get to those books, but that was another kind of thing that just popped into my brain as something that was a little bit creepy. So, but I can't go there. We should talk just for a little bit. It's been about an hour. Holy cow. I hope if any of you had to use the restroom, you went. I didn't take a restroom break. We'll go on just a little longer. Let's see. I want to go to, Gail Mathers. Before I go to what I was going to, she asked me, are you Violet? No, I am not. Of course, every character has pieces of me, parts of my personality. And I can't control that. That's, you know, my sense of humor. What I find funny, what I think is mean, what I think is horrible, that's all coming from my brain. But do I see myself as Violet? No. I wouldn't want Violet's life. She's got a crazy life. Those twins, I can't handle 2 kids 2 years apart. I can't imagine having twins. So I'm not really Violet. I'm a little bit of everybody. I'm a little bit of Claire. I love to try to help Mr. Lucky around the house and help him when he does projects. It's kind of fun to get out and experiment. Plumbing was an adventure. Whew. I got pretty good at soldering though. So plumbing was fun, but mostly Violet's kind of me. Claire's kind of me. They're all bits of me and I'm a bit of them. Let's go on to, I'm looking at quiz 2 now, which I think it's about 450 of you guys have taken this, maybe 460 now. And our average on that is more around 55%. So we're getting better with the quizzes. If you guys haven't taken quiz 2, I recommend you go out and have fun taking it, unless you want to read first. Some people like to quiz first and then read. Other people like to read and then quiz. So, and these, again, your grade doesn't matter. I don't care about how you do. It's just more fun for you, because we're all stuck right now inside. Not all inside, but if you're in the city, you're stuck more inside. So we're just trying to, Diana and I just want to come up with stuff that is fun for us to do while we're hanging out here. And I want to get you ready for the new book, because Deadwood 11 is going to be out sometime in May, God willing. Creek don't rise, but yes, it will come out. So quiz 2 was The Beautiful but Deadly Carhart House. That's one of my favorites. Book 2, Optical, is one of my all-time favorites. I don't know why. I think it's Lila and Violet, the way that Violet can't stand Lila. It just cracks me up for some reason, because Lila is just this bombshell, and Violet from the start is just, wow, she just cannot stand her right out of the gate. There's an instant dislike, and it cracks me up, the things how it goes back and forth. It just makes me laugh. Plus, I really like in that book how Doc struggling with what he's dealing with in relation to Violet, that he likes her so much. He's struggling, and then in turn, Violet, dealing with she has kids. She comes in this whole package. Violet's struggling with Doc and his pulling back a little bit. Cooper is big time coming on, being Cooper in all his glory, barking at her and stuff. And then there's Reed. Reed shows up in this book too, and Reed's so funny, such a wonderful guy, and I love how it starts him with Aunt Zoe and how that all's working out. But anyway, one of the tough questions was the first one. Why does Harvey call Violet Sparky the first time? And many people are getting that wrong, and it's a tricky one because Jeff Wyman's garage did explode, and it was after that Reed starts calling her Sparky too. But it reminded me when I went back through with that question that it really was Harvey who started the Sparky name, and he started calling her the nicknames. Now, he didn't call her Spooky. That came from other people, but that was the start of Sparky, and Reed still calls her Sparky. Harvey calls her all kinds of stuff. The teeth in the Chinese puzzle box. Now, that's a really killer question. How many teeth were found in the Chinese puzzle box? That one's tough, and I expect some people, if you've read the book, you might remember. Otherwise, it's going to be a guess. To be honest, it was a guess when I did it because I hadn't gone back and read in probably 5 months. So here's the thing about the teeth that was funny. When I wrote that story, I went in and I was hanging out with my work buddy Beth, who was a big help early on in this writing gig. She was one of my early editors. She's amazing. She taught me how to write action scenes. She taught me so many things. So Beth Harris, one of my favorite people. But anyway, I went into Beth and I said, I got to this part in my story where there's this Chinese puzzle box, and when Lane opens it, I've got to think of what's going to be in there. What is the weirdest thing that you could think of that would be in that Chinese puzzle box? And she looked at me and she's like, well, teeth. So that was kind of the start of, and I said, canine teeth. Yes. And that was the start of the teeth. It was not something that I plotted up early on. It was just a what's inside this box thing, and let's roll with it. One of the things I find really fun as an author to challenge myself is to do this kind of thing. Say, here's this thing. What is it? What are we going to find in this? We'll open a box, and what do we find? Sometimes I know ahead of time. Other times I go, oh, it's this. And then I have fun exploring that as I write, the story, and that's on the page. It's not always 100% pre-planned. Sometimes it's, well, this is what I opened the box and found. So now let's work with that and see what happens. And that has been the product of many wonderful, wonderful twists and threads in this big series, including the teeth. I was going to see if I had any other questions here. Hold on, let me check this. You need to do more of these live book clubs. Loving this, Daryl Williams. Thank you, Daryl, because as I said, I can only see me. So this has been the longest time I've spent looking in the mirror, probably since I was a teenager, and I was an 80s teenager. And so my hair stood up about this high, all over. And that took an hour of hairspray, burn it with a curling iron, tease it, hairspray it up high. So that was probably the last time I've looked at myself this long. It's kind of scary, but we're going forth. What is up with Mr. Stinkelskine? I can't even say the name. Always spying, from Michelle Davis. That guy, he's got a little chihuahua, I think. He's got a little dog. And love him, but he really has nothing else going on in his world besides Jeopardy and maybe a few old Westerns. He likes to watch concentration reruns on MeTV. He likes to watch those. I think those are on MeTV, or those are on Game Show TV. That's kind of me. If I were to have a chihuahua and I was a little old man who wore my boxer shorts and suspenders with my socks all the time, and I love to watch Is it Concentration? I have to ask Mr. Lucky. Gene Rayburn. Oh, I can't think of what it's called. Mr. Lucky will tell me in a minute. But anyway, I love that show. I love watching all the old stars on it from the 70s, late 70s, answer the questions and do all their jokes. And they're always, they ask these questions, they could almost be dirty, but they are not. And the stars have to just smile through it and keep it PG. And I love that. They're so funny. So anyhow, oh, Match Game. Thank you, Mr. Lucky. Not concentration, it's Match Game. It's like Match Game 76, Match Game 77. You know, they keep going with the years. And I love looking at the people that show up and their hair and their clothing. It's awesome. But anyway, I am like Mr. Stinkelstein with my little dog. I should see if I can put a leash on my cats and walk them up and down the road and looking in people's windows. Okay, you know, not a voyeur, but I always thought of looking through a big living room window was like watching TV on someone else's life. So I'm him walking my dog, and here's Violet and her crazy porch antics that happen, and things going on outside. So, you know, it's just watching people in your neighborhood, I think, is more than anything. So thank you, Michelle Davis. I'm fascinated by Old Man's Harvey's shotgun. Thank you, Pat Mosher. It strikes me as being very old, maybe something from the coffin joint era. Will the past catch up with the present? Oh, Pat, there's so much going on with the whole mix of the Undertaker series by Mr. Lucky and me, or I, whatever. Anyway, it's, oh boy, you guys, this is so much fun for Mr. Lucky and me to create this whole backstory based off, you know, this and what we had always talked about happened way back then, that now we're finally able to bring it to life for you guys so you can start seeing how it, you know, this is how it all started and this is what's going on now, and we're going to see where it all ends. So yeah, and I love getting to show you Prudence. Because Prudence, as many of you know from book 2, she's something. You know, she really is just getting going in book 2. But as we keep going, she gets more and more mean with Violet. Oh, she's so frustrated with Violet because Violet is so bad at her job. It just drives Prudence nuts. Imagine being this incredible ace at what you do, but you're a ghost and all you can do is watch this new youngster come in and constantly screw up and fumble their way through it and cause more problems. Oh my gosh, it would just be so fun. So frustrating. So that is Prudence in a nutshell, and why she's so angry. She's very much on the edge of, oh my God, I'm just gonna kill her myself because she's doing it all wrong. So anyhow, for those of you who haven't read the Deadwood Undertaker series, some of you probably say, I'm not into Westerns, I'm not into this, it's not really my cup of tea to read a Western. There's much more than Western in this book. It's just we're in the Old West. I'm not going to go on and on about what Mr. Lucky and how wonderful he is with the dialogue and stuff, because he'll come out here and shush me. But he has some of the funniest stories through Hank that when it's my turn to go in and do my part, I love to just read what Hank has to say. But okay, we're getting off. We're supposed to be in nearly departed in optical. So Pat, that's a really great question. And it's going to come up more and more as things go on. So you just keep on reading and we'll keep filling you in on what's happened before and next. Timmy says the next book club is the Coffin Joint. We have to make it through Deadwood first. I know you want that, but maybe when we get ready to release Deadwood Undertaker 3, we can talk about, we'll have a book club on the first 2 books of the Undertaker series. But for now, we're gonna, just so you all know, the next one after tomorrow, which will be the same subjects, but I'll try to mix it up. But I'm gonna try to go maybe once a week on the weekends like this. I mean, I don't have a lot on my plate, nowhere to go. So, and we'll do probably book 3 and book 4 of the Deadwood mystery series. So Dead Case in Deadwood and Optical Delusions, no, Better Off Dead in Deadwood. So we'll do those 2 books then probably next week. And so if anybody wants to read to get reacquainted or, you know, scan through them, we're going to have the quizzes. I'll do quiz 3, Dead Case, tomorrow afternoon when the second book club is done. And then I will do, with Diane is helping me, we will have quiz number 4 out there available probably mid next week as well. So you can do 3 and 4 next week and prep. And then if you guys have nothing to do next Saturday, maybe by chance you're stuck in your house for some crazy reason, or Sunday, I might do 2 again. We'll see how this works. You can join me and we'll talk about books 3 and 4 of the mystery series and things, ideas, where things came from and all that kind of stuff. So we'll go route. But thank you, Timmy. I'm so glad, Timmy, that you like the Undertaker series, and I know Pat's a big fan too. We have a lot of fun writing that. Let me see. Mr. Lucky sent me a thing, says, let's talk more about the Undertaker series. That makes me laugh. You and Timmy, are you talking to Mr. Lucky on the side or something like that? Okay, so let's see. I think that's all the questions I currently am getting from people through my helpers. It's been an hour and 10 minutes, and I think that's enough time to break for just a moment, and we're not going to go on for a lot longer. But because I don't know, you guys don't want to keep listening to me. You guys will go crazy. I'm going crazy. But let's do this. I did tell some people that I would have some tequila with them. So if anyone else wants to open their bottle of tequila and take a moment to take a tequila break, we will do a shot. This is the tequila. I'm really doing this. It's not water. I'm going to do this with you guys. But I'm not going to do the lemon, and I'm not going to do the salt. Now, some of you will say, what is wrong with you? You got to have lemon and salt. But I've been drinking tequila long enough now that sometimes I just like it plain. Yeah, I don't know why, but sometimes the lemon and the salt get in the way, and I just enjoy good tequila. So raise your glasses. Thank you all for coming today. We'll do one little thing more or two, and then I'm going to wrap it up in the next 10 to 15 minutes. But let's take a little pause. I'm going to drink some tequila with you. If you just have coffee, that's okay. Tomorrow, I'll do it in the afternoon. That seems a little bit more normal Sunday afternoon, but we'll do Saturday morning. So, okay, give me a second. Get ready. And that is tequila. Woo! Love that stuff. Okay. Let me adjust my hat one more time. There were a couple other questions I wanted to do. Oh, we was looking at the quiz. What can you never find in the Carhartt house? And most of you got this, 91% of you, almost 92 got this right. Ice cubes. That is correct. You cannot find ice cubes in the Carhartt house. Why is that? It drives people nuts. Readers will write me all the time. And not all the time, but a lot of times. And at workshops, they'll come up and say, why are there no ice cubes in the Carhartt house? This is insane. What is Prudence's reasoning? And my answer to that is similar to Cooper's first name, in that you have to wait and see. I do have a reasoning. There is something, and maybe in the Undertaker books you're going to find out more, because in the Undertaker books we get to spend more time with the real life Prudence as the series goes on. I'll give you that little hint. She is a feisty thing when she's alive. You think she's something when she's dead. Wait till you meet her when she's alive. She is hell on wheels, and she likes to give Clementine, who stars in that series, a lot of problems. Who else does Prudence give problems? The other executioner we know, Violet. So her giving Violet all this crap is nothing new. Prudence has been Prudence for a long, long time. So why does she not like the ice cubes? Like I said, we'll find out. There's a reason behind everything. Let's see, what else was there here? My favorite. What did Violet want to hang off of Lila Beaumont's super pert breast the first time she met her? That was one of the things in that book that made me laugh out loud as I typed it, when Violet had the thought of she wanted to hang Christmas tree ornaments from them. They were so perky. That just, that's what I love about Violet, is she's so like the rest of us, in that she's not perfect, and she struggles, and she, would love to be this bombshell, and she's not. She's Violet, and she's not a perfect size. I don't know, what is the perfect size? They used to say size 8, didn't they? But that seems like not the way anymore. But she's not perfect by far. And she likes to eat bad things and drink things, and it's one of the things I think that makes her like a friend for many of us. So what else was there? Zeke and Zelda was on the test. I was going to find another one. What was Lila's plan for Violet after Millie drugged her and took her prisoner? And that was to allow the demon Kirkaz to use Violet for procreation purposes, that's another scene where I laugh, because when Violet realizes they want to impregnate her, oh my gosh, twins. She never wants to go back to that pregnancy thing. That was just horrendous for her. So the idea of being pregnant again by a demon, well, that's even worse, of course. But here's the thing with Kirkaz. I've had people ask me about this demon named Kirkaz, where I came up with him. And I will tell you that I searched and searched through so many databases reading about demon names. And the reason I did that was not to pick a demon that was already out there. It was to find a name that was no longer, that was not used anywhere. So I finally put a bunch of K's and Z's together and came up with Kirkaz. And I searched database, you know, all the different browsers I went through looking for that name Kirkaz, and I found nothing at the time. So it's a completely made up name, not based off anything, so that I could come up with my own demon-like mythology about Kirkaz and make the character what I wanted it to be, so that I didn't have someone writing now, Azazel does this, he is the demon of this, which I believe there is Azazel. But Kirkaz, there is none. There's no such character in any mythology, any religious history as Kirkaz that I could find. So you know, going forward, he's total fiction. Harvey's truck is called the Pickle-mobile, and 94% of you guys got that right, which is awesome. And I've told many of you that growing up we had a Pickle-mobile. My mom and stepdad had this old green truck that I was driving when I was 15 on back roads in Deadwood. It was a dark green. It was the color of a pickle, and we called it the Pickle-mobile. And we had a lot of good times in that. I don't think it had seat belts. I could take it on any dirt road I wanted to, and in the Black Hills there are a lot of dirt roads. So I was able to drive it all over and have fun driving as long as I was in the Pickle-mobile on a back road. It was all good. And let's see if there was any other here. Trying to look at this quiz, see if there's any other last things we want to talk about. Let's see, how did Prudence die? And most of you got that right, 62%. Yeah, and you know, that's the fun, tricky thing. Again, I'm not going to go into detail on the Undertaker series, but Prudence does die. We all know that if you've read Deadwood Mystery Series, that Prudence dies somewhere along the line. So it's going to be really fun to tell you how this whole thing worked out, because Prudence did die physically, but she's still here, is strong and growing stronger in the current Deadwood Mystery series, which is a lot of fun. So it's going to be fun when you find out Prudence's whole story, and it's not done. Oh no, she's still going strong, and she's getting, like I said, she's growing stronger in every book. So Prudence just shifted in many ways, and I can tell you that because it's really not a secret. You know that if you read either series. She was alive and now she's dead. So let's see if there's any other last questions from anyone, and then we're going to wrap it up. It's been an hour and 20 minutes, and while I'm surprised I could talk this long to myself in the mirror, I'm sure my husband is not surprised at all, and he's in there maybe snoozing, going, is she going to wrap this up ever? Yeah, no, he's much nicer than that. Let's see here. I didn't answer whether the Carhart house really happened up in Deadwood or Lee by Gail Mathers. There is a house that overlooks the open cut, which is the big open pit mine, but there was no ghost in it that I know of. That's fictional. There's a house sitting up there that you can see, but it doesn't really look like the Carhart house either. The Carhart house is fictional. The murders and stuff are fiction. I made those up to just include into the storyline. But there's a house that kind of sits where it does. And every now and then I'll have a local write to me and say, is it this house? I think you're talking about this house. And yeah, it is. Some of the places in Deadwood are real. The rec center is really there. The police station, the library, those are all real. And I try to make the insides similar to what they look like. Other places are completely, fiction. Aunt Zoe's house is fiction. Some of the stores are fiction. So it's a real mix. I have to be careful. I can use like libraries that are public, but private owned businesses I try to stay away from and just make up something fiction. And Dawn, Marie David Black, why can't they have ice in that house? You'll see. You'll see. That's my answer to that. That's all I'm going to say. I know it might drive you nuts, but that's all I'm going to say. From Joanne, how am I coming up with the German and Nordic terms? The Nordics, again, part of more of the Undertaker series, the German as well, but the German's in this series. And that was something that, if you look at on a map, the Black Forest region of Germany and the Black Hills of Deadwood, or of South Dakota, they're similar size and shape. And they have, you know, the Black Forest in Germany is full of all this great mythology, and there's mining that's taken place there. So it just kind of came together that there would be this German tie, you know, this tie. And so that's the reason I really went into the German part with this, a lot of stuff, because of the Black Forest and the stuff, the crazy stuff. And that's why the clocks are what they are, because they're, you know, similar to that region of Germany. So I like pulling the two together. And let's see, did I miss anything? That was from Joanne, thank you. And I think that's about it for today. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Now here's the thing. When I stop, they're still gonna show stuff. You're gonna ask questions for a little bit longer, and because I'll still be showing for about 30 seconds. So those will most likely, even though I ended the video, come on the stream. And I will try to go through this stream in the next couple days and answer some questions if I missed them, or you know, see what I can do. Now keep in mind, I'm getting a lot of pressure to finish book 11. So one thing I have to do, besides work on quiz 3 that Diane's given me for the, you know, that I'm giving out tomorrow, I also have to write. So if I don't get back until later this week on this thread, don't feel like I'm ignoring you. It's just a matter of juggling everything I've got to get done. And I really do want to get Deadwood 11 done so that you guys can have it in May, because I think it's going to be a great way to start your summer fun. And hopefully we can all go outside of the house a little bit more by then. I mean, we can go outside, but you know what I mean. It's like I said to my daughter when I said, get dressed, you're going to go to the store with your dad. And she said, are we leaving the property today, Mother? Or are we just going outside our door? Which the past would have been like, what? But now it's a thing. Are we leaving the property? Yes, we will be leaving the property. Anyhow, I hope you all are doing well. I hope everyone is staying safe. I'm not going to tell you to wash your hands or don't touch your face, because, oh my, we've heard that plenty. But you're all taking care of yourselves and taking care of those who don't have as much, maybe financially, to be able to weather this. It's a scary time for all of us, but you know, we can keep hanging out online like this and having a good time and enjoy this whole new way of interacting and this whole new way of life for a little bit that we would not have experienced if it wasn't for COVID-19. So looking at the bright side, you know, there are a lot of good things that have come from this. And for me, I am spending so much time with my family that before I didn't have. Sometimes that's not good because of our children and they get tired of us. But sometimes it's just wonderful that we get all this time together. So take care of your loved ones. Be careful out there. And I'm going to hang up. Now I guess I'm going to hit the stop in my video and say goodbye. But I'll be back tomorrow for those of you who want to come back again. And I'm going to try to talk about different stuff. Wish me luck. And I think I'll change my hat because I think it's starting to get too tight on my head. Still stretching this one out. So I will see you guys, some of you tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll see some of you next week. And I will also talk to you online. So goodbye. And